Hey guys, it's Peter K here, your finance PT, and welcome back to my channel. Now today's video is a story time. It's not a very fortunate one. It's fortunate but unfortunate at the same time. So I lost my bank card recently, and the most annoying part about it is that one, I never lose anything. And two, whenever I think I've lost something, I've actually just left it somewhere else. And I think for me, the biggest thing is that I could have potentially not lost it, but we'll get into that later. So essentially what happened was, I decided, you know what, we have some exciting news, we want to celebrate. So I'm like, let's just get some takeaway. So I went out, went to KFC, got the meal, and I was then going to a second shop to buy some face coverings. So I left the shop, and I think it was at that point, it was definitely at that point, leaving that store, that I dropped my card on the floor. But I had two of my bank cards in particular and some other random cards together in like a little pouch. So something like, actually, I don't have an example with me, but either way, it was just in like a little oyster holder. Thankfully, there was a time back a couple of years ago that I used to have pretty much all of my bank cards together. And I'm so glad that didn't happen, because it would have made my chances of this fraud, which happened to me, it would have been a lot worse, because again, I would have had more cards for that person to use. So essentially, the cards must have dropped. I think it fell as I was trying to put it into my bag. I must have thought my bag was closed, but clearly it wasn't, and it fell. And as I was walking, because I saw my friend, I was talking to her, and I just kind of got a little bit distracted. Someone had actually went up to us and asked, oh, did one of you drop something? But the thing was, okay, the way he described this particular thing sounded nothing like mine. So I was like, oh no, like that sounds not, I'm like, no, that doesn't sound like me. So I'm like, carrying on about my business. And then I got home. Probably about an hour later, I got a text from my bank. And at first, I thought that was fraud. I'm like, what is this text? They never text me. Because the card in particular that they texted me about, I rarely use that card. I just use it for business purchases. So again, I just thought, that's a bit strange. What's that? So something in me said, you know what, just check. So the text, they were basically asking me to respond whether a purchase was me or not. I'm going to insert the text message so you guys can see it. So at that moment, I went into panic mode and I was like, oh my gosh, I need to get this cancelled ASAP, because clearly this person is going on a shopping spree, which they were. So this person had gone into Tesco, and I think they tried to use my cards a number of times, contactless. And I don't know, for some reason, it must have not worked, or I don't know what the issue was, but they kept trying it, and then eventually they were able to make purchases. But they didn't only stop at Tesco. But I will get into the purchases that this person made later on. So again, at that point, I was like, okay, I need to call the bank. So I called the bank. And my first bank, I will say the names because one was great, one was not too great. So the first bank I called was Halifax, because again, that was the one that had given me the text notification about the purchase. So I called Halifax. It only took about 5 minutes or so to get through to someone. And obviously I said to them, I've lost my card, please cancel it, because someone is using my card and they're going on a shopping spree. So they blocked my card for me, thankfully. So at this point, this person had gone into 5 stores. I'll let you know how much they spent later on. So bear in mind, if you're watching this video outside of the UK, Contactless allows you to make payments without having to put in your chip and PIN. So essentially you can just tap it onto the card reader and you're good to go. And recently, some stores have actually increased the contactless limit to up to £80. So usually most stores, I think it's up to £40. But I saw recently that some stores are actually increasing it to up to £80. So that's just to give you a bit of background. So again, this person does not need my PIN. They can simply just go in and tap away and just use up all my money, which they tried to do. But anyways, so after speaking to the person, of course, they're like, yeah, we're going to need to put you through to the fraud squad. Now, obviously, I had 2 cards at the time, and thankfully, I only had 2 bank cards in there, because otherwise, my head would have exploded at that point. So what I did was, they transferred me to the fraud squad. I was waiting. 30 minutes passed, I was still waiting. 40 minutes passed, I was still waiting. But at the same time, I'm concerned because of my other card. But the problem was, so the account that this person went shopping on, that card, it has an overdraft limit. So it allows me to, my overdraft limit on that card is like £350. So again, that's my other concern. They're going to use up all my money and they can go on a £350 additionally shopping spree if I don't get this sorted. So thankfully, in terms of getting through to get my card cancelled, that only took 5 minutes. But actually being able to speak to the fraud squad took a whopping, drum roll, 1 hour and 20 minutes. And guys, this was in the evening. So I think from when I started calling, it was about 7:30 p.m. When I actually got through, I think it was about 9 p.m. I'm going to check my records just to double check, but it took a really, really long time. After 1 hour, I started to get worried, like, oh my gosh, am I actually going to get through to someone? As much as it says it's a 24-hour helpline, like, is anyone going to answer the phone? Because it's been over an hour and I'm still here waiting. So at that point, I thought, you know what, let me call my other bank, which was NatWest at the same time. So that card they hadn't used. But thankfully with that card, it does not have an overdraft limit. And again, that's our main current account. And thankfully, guys, because of budgeting, we use a zero budget method, and it was a few days up until when we get our pay. So again, at that point, it's like there wasn't that much in our account anyway because of our zero budget method. It would have just been a couple of pounds here or there for like groceries and stuff like that. So thankfully, and again, that card does not have overdraft, so they wouldn't have really been able to spend an exceptional amount with that card, thankfully. So anyways, so at the same time, so imagine I'm on hold with one. So I told my husband, get the number for NatWest for me. Oh my gosh, I forgot to add. So what I did, because it was taking long in terms of getting through to someone initially with Halifax, I had gone onto the app, because with the app you can report your account as lost or stolen, which I did, but I wasn't sure whether it had gone through or not because it was saying that one of my passwords was wrong. So I was panicking even more, but thankfully I think it had worked. So yeah, back to it. Sometimes I'm not in chronological order because you remember afterwards. So as I said, I was on the phone to Halifax for a long period of time. So at that point, I got my husband to call NatWest for me. And then I was like, when they answer, just hand it over to me and stay on the line just in case they finally pick up. Thankfully, it didn't take very long. It took about 5 or 7 minutes to get through to NatWest, thankfully. And I was able to speak to someone and obviously let them know my card has been stolen. Well, not stolen. It has been lost. So please block it for me. And then I had to call back the next day because it was late to reorder my cards because I have a special kind of account. So I was like, that's fine. As long as it's cancelled. That's all that matters. So thankfully, in terms of getting through to NatWest, that was really quick. I didn't have to wait hours on end, thankfully, like I did with Halifax. And it was so funny. I got through to NatWest and then I was still waiting on Halifax. Still waiting. So when I finally got through, I spoke to the fraud squad. They went through the transactions with me and I was like, yeah, that's not me. Because even with that card, like I said, I rarely use it. I hadn't used that card, and I probably used it the day before to transfer some money, but I hadn't used it for anything else. And you can even see from my transactions, I very rarely spend on that card. So I had to go through all the transactions they went through with me. I was like, that was me, that was me, that was me. So let's go through the transactions now. So first thing, I think that's the initial place they went to shop first. This person went to Tesco and they spent £18.58 with my money. They then went to, I think it was the station. They went to Ilford Station and they spent £15. I don't know if they use that for travel. I don't know exactly what they did because of course you can't take money out unless you know the PIN. But whatever they did, I think it was a service station. So like basically where you can put petrol in your car. I think that's what they used the £15 for. Yep, with my money. And then they also had the cheek to go to McDonald's and spend £3.77. And they went to Snatch Deal. I'm not even sure what Snatch Deal is. I've never shopped there. But yeah, I have no idea. But whatever it was, that store is, they spent £35.99. Yes, the cheek. And then this person proceeded to go to Diamond Hair, which is basically a hair shop, and they spent £15.97. Now, because of this purchase, I am pretty sure it was a woman. Because, and even so, going back to it now, the person that had asked me and my friend if he dropped something was a man, a white man. I don't see him going to Diamond Hair. Okay. I just don't see it. So I'm pretty sure it was a woman. I'm not going to say any races because I don't want to get cancelled online, but I'm pretty sure I have a very strong idea the kind of person that found my card. But yeah, they went to Diamond Hair, spent £15.97. I don't know what they bought, but they bought something. And that was it. So that was a total of £89.31 in fraud. And it would have been a lot more thankfully, as much as Halifax, they took forever for me to get through to the fraud squad, thankfully, they texted me because, of course, your bank monitors your activity. And if they hadn't sent me that text, I wouldn't have realized for about 2 days when I would have gone on that Friday for my food shop that I didn't have my cards. So just imagine 2 days of this person just living it up with my cards, contactless, going everywhere and spending up, filling their cupboards and their pockets with things. I would not have realized, and it would have been a lot worse. So one thing I am grateful for is the fact that the fraud squad has really improved and that they're really, really on the ball, especially when you don't frequently do certain purchases. They notice these things. So thankfully, As much as, yes, £89.31 was an L to my account, I did get my money back because it was fraud. And the money took about 24 hours to come back into my account. So I was really, really happy with that. So this experience has really taught me a lot. In future, if anyone asks me, did I drop anything? I am going to check before I say no. Even if it doesn't sound like it's mine, I'm going to check with my own two eyes just to make sure that it's not mine. Because if I had done that in the beginning, none of this would have happened. So it's partly my fault, but I was just being an honest citizen. You know, what he described did not sound like mine. So I was just like, no, it's not me. But anyways, it is what it is. We live and we learn. And I also wanted to highlight in this video, guys, that fraud is very, very prevalent. And especially when you have a contactless card, someone does not need to have your PIN to go on a shopping spree, as you can see with mine. The fact that someone was able to spend over £35 in a card, not having my PIN number, and just buy whatever it is they bought so easily, it just shows that sometimes contactless, as much as it's convenient for us, when you lose your card, it can be problematic. So for me now, my new card has come, but I'm waiting for, well, one of them has. And I'm at this point where I'm like, do I want to disable contactless just in case this ever happens to me again? Because again, it just makes it so easy for people that find your card to just go wild with it. So I'm kind of in two minds at the moment about that. But be very conscious. Right now, there are so many people, we're in a pandemic, and some people are heartless and they don't care. They are just out to get whatever they can get. There are so many scams going around via email. I've had about 2 scam phone calls last week about there's like this new national insurance scam going around where they're calling you and saying something to do with your national insurance. And like this one happened to my husband as well. And they were talking about something to do with the police. And again, when you hear some of these, it's like this automated voice and it sounds very fake, but maybe you have vulnerable family members or friends that could easily fall for these scams. So one thing I'd say is to be very, very clued up and savvy. Never give your personal details over the phone, especially from an unknown or very like a number that you're not expecting. Even if they say they're your bank or they say that they're the company that you use for your utilities or whatever the case may be, do not trust it. Always don't be giving out all your information. Make sure you are asking all the questions because it's so easy. All they need is your name, your number. And if they're asking you for your bank details or certain security information, be cautious. It is probably a scam. If it sounds suspicious, it probably is suspicious. And what you can then do is ask them for, do you know what? Okay, go on the website. I'm going to go on the website for the company and I'll call that number back. If you're unsure, do not give out your details because these scammers are getting better and better. I remember a couple months back, I got a text that seemed very, very legitimate. But the one thing that was off was that they said my payment didn't go through. And I know that I thought, that's weird. You know, why would they text me saying my payment go through and I need to click this link to pay the payment? So I thought, no, this is definitely suspicious. And again, of course, it was a scam. So what I'd say in terms of emails, there are so many that come on it. It's crazy. Definitely do not give out your personal details. Do not click on any links that look suspicious. There are so many things. And again, if it looks suspicious, it probably is suspicious. And what you can do before you respond to any emails, or if you're not unsure about it, always check the sender. Because sometimes in the subject line, it looks so convincing that you don't realize that when you actually click on the sender, it's one dodgy email and it's not actually PayPal. It's not actually Amazon, because a lot of the times there's these Amazon fake emails that come through. So do be very careful and check the sender. If it's not verified, if it's not proper, when I say verified, I mean, if it doesn't say at Amazon or at PayPal, whatever the company is that's supposedly emailing you, do not trust it. HMRC are not going to email you. So do not trust it. If you've got a refund, they will send you a letter. So again, be very cautious of these fake ones. Also, there's a post office scam going around, sending text messages saying that a parcel of yours, the full payment was not made in terms of sending it. Click this link. Be cautious. Do not give out your bank details because unfortunately there are a lot of people that they just do not care. We're in a pandemic and they're just out to get what they can. So be very cautious of that. Like I said, if it looks suspicious, do not click on the link. Check the actual sender before you respond, before you give out any details. Just don't do it. And again, educate yourself because these scammers are getting better and better and they are looking even more convincing. There are so many phone call scams going on at the moment and text scams. Even the fact that I almost dismissed my bank because I thought that was a scam, because I'm like, I think everything's a scam when it comes to these texts and calls. Be cautious because unfortunately there are a lot of people just looking to take advantage of people as they can. So educate yourself and your family on fraud and be very careful right now because unfortunately we're in challenging times and unfortunately some people they just don't care. But anyway, guys, that's the end of the story time. Thank you for watching and sticking with me. Has this ever happened to you before? If you've got a fraud story that you'd like to share, let me know in the comments. I'd love to kind of find out. And if you have any tips that you would add to the list that I spoke about earlier, feel free to drop it in the comments. Let's continue the conversation. If you're not already following me on Instagram, follow me at Your Finance PT. You can also follow my other page at The Pearls and Perils. Thank you guys for sticking with me. And if you have never listened to one of my podcasts, I don't know what you're doing. It's also The Pearls and Perils, and it is available on Google, Apple, and Spotify. Also on SoundCloud too. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, guys, give it a like, subscribe to my channel if you're not already subscribed, and have an amazing day. I will see you in my next video. Take care and stay safe.